you all a few questions as we get started here today. Question number one is, for a Monday, if today has been a good day, let me hear you say yes. All right, good energy in the room. Let me ask a second question. Listen carefully. If you would like to keep your current book of clients and attract more, let me hear a much louder yes. Okay, one final question. Would you all like to have a little bit of fun today before we hit the road? Yes? All right, I want to have some fun too. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a little bit of energy about me, but don't get it twisted. I didn't come to play. Because the title of our session today is Infinite Influence. Infinite influence. What I know is that each and every one of you have the ability right now. You have the skill, and I'm betting you have the want to build infinite influence. I'm going to show you how over the next 59 minutes or so. I want you to consider that in your position, I'm thinking that you do 4 things every day. I'm not sure if you do number 1, but if you are a note taker, I would urge you to write this down. This is not on the slide. This is free at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. There are 4 things successful people are doing, should be doing every single day. I'm going to start with number 2. For my type A people in the room, say number 2. On number 2, I want you to write down communicate. If you are spending some amount of time throughout the day communicating with your clients or prospective clients, let me hear you say yes. All right, we're spending some amount of time communicating. We're going to talk about communication while we're here together. Communicating in a way that will help you build more influence. You're spending some amount of time communicating. You're also likely spending some amount of time planning. Write down number 3. Number 3 is planning. If you're spending some amount of time in your day planning, give me a head shake. Yes. All right, I can see across the room. We're spending time communicating. We're spending time planning. And then finally, number 4, we're spending time executing, actually doing the work. If you are a busy person, give me a yes. All right. With that in mind, what I have found, the heart of the work that I do is in training and executive coaching. And what I have found is that there are a lot of hardworking people out there who have good intentions, who are doing good work, and who are giving it their absolute best effort, and yet they're not gaining ground or capitalizing on the opportunity in front of them. Maybe that is you. And I want you to consider, how much time am I spending doing what's number 1 on this list? Number 1 on this list, the key to you being able to achieve infinite influence is very simply thinking. Thinking. Now consider this for a moment. You can spend a lot of time throughout your day reacting, responding, hoping that those reflexes you've built up over decades, that what you've learned to do, what has worked in the past, will continue to work moving forward. But what I have found today, if I could come to you and speak to you candidly and casually as a friend, is that we're all experiencing 3 very common challenges today. If I had one goal, and I'm going to do like a red thread throughout our whole program, if I had one goal for the time that I have with you this evening, it would be that I would cause you to think. Think about what you've been doing, what you are doing, and think about what you could do in order to increase the success of your business. Now, the challenge I think that we're all facing, I want you to give yourself a moment to consider this. Often when we're busy and there's lots of work to be done, we don't take time to sit and to think. But how many of you make better decisions if you have time to think? Look around the room. Look around the room. Yes, we all do. Think about this. Common challenges we're facing today that hinder us from building more influence, being able to attract and retain more clients. First is around diversity. Now, diversity has become somewhat of a bad word in our culture today, but let me ask you, wait for a moment, but let me ask you, are you seeing diversity in your clients? Diversity in terms of what products they want. I'm looking for yeses or nos. Diversity in terms of how they want to be communicated with, yes or no? Diversity in terms of how often they want to hear from you or whether they want you to leave them alone. Diversity in terms of their expectations of you, what it means to give great service and now what's just average. There's diversity. So we're trying to meet people's needs in all kinds of different ways. We have lots of different ways that we talk with clients, that we deliver information. Diversity is a challenge. It takes time and resources in order to address it. There's diversity. But then there's also the challenge of, I would say the challenge of technology. When it comes to technology, it is changing our business in ways that many of us could have never expected. Is change affecting the way you operate on it, or is technology affecting the way you operate on a day in and day out basis? Yes? And I want you to consider this. When it comes to technology, some of us are connecting with people through technology in ways that the old analog ways, the face-to-face, the get involved in your community, they're ineffective. I want you to consider, to think, are you trying to connect with people in ways that make you feel connected, or are you connecting with them in ways that make them feel connected to you? Think. Think about how you've been showing up. The challenge we're facing in terms of diversity, in terms of technology, and then finally, culture change. Think about this for a moment. Way back in the day, so way back in the 1900s, remember when people would do business with a company and they would stay with that company through thick and thin. There was loyalty, something to be proud of, especially if it was a relationship-driven business like yours is. We'll deal with higher rates, or maybe we have a customer service issue. We'll stay because that's who we are. But consider culture today. If we don't like how someone is doing business with us, if we could get something else somewhere else, we're willing to let the relationship go in order to make sure we get what we want. And consider this. Back in the day, if we stayed, we were seen as loyal and committed. Today, back in the day, if you left, you were seen as potentially unprofessional, not loyal. It was frowned upon. But today, if you leave in order to get something that is better for you, and you go home and you call your mama and tell her, I changed companies today, I changed services today, mama is not going to say, be careful, you're going to get a bad reputation. Doesn't the relationship matter? Rather, mama's going to say, Hercules, honey, I am so glad that you can go work and do business with somewhere where you are going to get better service, better treatment. It has never been more acceptable for people to stop doing business where they've always done it and go give someone else a shot. And with all of that, I came to you with an infinite influence strategy today because this is no longer an option moving forward in sales and service. It is a fundamental requirement as we finish out 2025 and move into 2026. With this in mind, there's 3 types of people in this room. If you're my note taker, we're taking lots of notes and then we're going to finish with the meat and potatoes. 3 types of people in this room. I wonder where you'd fall right now. And I can see some of you looking very pensive. 3 types of people in this room who have achieved success so far. I wonder what category you fall into. There in this room are accidental successes. People who have grown their book of business, they have high retention rates, they continue to bring new business in. And if I could have dinner with you tonight, if I stay after for the social and I asked you, okay, just tell me, I just want to know, what's your secret sauce? How have you achieved this level of success? You'd sit there, you'd think, and you'd say, I don't know, Allison, it's a surprise to me too. Somebody's got favor on me. And here's what I would say to that. We laugh because it's a little bit funny, but man, is it dangerous. Because if you don't know what your secret sauce is, how do you know what to continue doing as you move forward? And if you can't define it, how are you going to teach your successor and your team as you grow them to repeat it? I wonder very clearly if you could write down what it is that you do to have had such an influence in your community and with your clients and your team. There's accidental successes in the room, but there's also incidental successes. Incidental successes are those people who they've done one thing right. So one thing right, maybe you've had the right price or the right product or the right relationships or the right place at the right time because another agent left and you just happened to be there. There are incidental successes, but in a world that is moving and evolving at breakneck speed, I wonder if what got you here won't get you there, if your competitive advantage is about to be obsolete because of technology. People who are incidental successes. Man, that's scary to me too. I'm not after accidental success or incidental success. I'm after intentional success, radically intentional success. And it will be the people who are radically intentional who will be able to harness their ability to build infinite influence. And when I teach you this strategy with infinite influence, you won't be able to unsee it. It will help you connect with people in a way that could quite literally elevate every single area of your life. Our focus is going to be business today. It's going to be clients today, but this applies to your marriage. It applies to your kids. It applies to every human interaction that we have. And when you implement it, you gift yourself an unfailing compass for what to say, what to do, and what to offer people in order to get them to come, stay, and go all in with you. Now, with that in mind, let's define infinite influence. If I were to ask you, how would you define influence? What would you say? And this is a big room, but what would you say? How would you define influence? Let me ask you this. Who in here wants more influence? Anybody? I say hands around the room, head shaking. We want more influence, but we don't know exactly how to define it. I want you to consider this. I've used the word influence probably no less than 23 times if we go back and count on the video. But how do I know that we're speaking the same language in a diverse world? You think you want it, and our theme for the entire event is significant influence, profound impact. But what exactly do we mean when we say influence? I wonder how intentionally have you been communicating? Think about your clients and your team members. Has anybody experienced a communication breakdown before? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. All right, then consider what we do that gets in our way of building influence. We all know that we want it. What's getting in our way? Hands down, the number one thing that we are doing, that you might be doing right now, is making assumptions about clients. And especially in sales, we did. I heard it in one of the breakout rooms. We take best practices and then we start painting all of our approaches with a broad brush. I want you to consider, if you're not achieving your full potential, could you be making some assumptions that are standing in your way? Now, I have learned the hard way that assumptions often happen with the people we've known and worked with the longest. Think about the clients that you've had for a long time. The people that maybe you are assuming that they will stay with you forever, for whatever reason. I wonder if they're just about to leave and you're not aware. I wonder if you've made some assumptions about people that you're trying to attract, what they would want. And you've tailored what you say to them in interactions, what you say to them on phone calls, based on what other people would tell you to do. Assumptions. I wonder if you've been making assumptions about people. I'm going to tell you a time that I made an assumption, and hands down, it is the best way that has caused this awakening within me to realize that assumptions are a natural default for us as humans, and they are a weapon standing ready to get in our way every day from us achieving our full potential. I have made an assumption about someone on a stage like this and made a fool of myself in front of everybody. I'm going to tell you all that story. And as I tell you all this story, you all are going to dance a little bit. I don't know if you came in here wanting to dance. I mean, some of you all look real polished and pretty in your suit jackets. I want you to consider for a moment, take a drink, scoot back, roll up your sleeves, because we're going to do a little bit of dancing. I want to see if you all listen to the same music that we listen to in Western Kentucky. Because this event where I made an assumption was much like this. Imagine this room. I'm back in college. I'm not grown Allison anymore. I'm back in college. Imagine you at work. I'm putting together an event. I'm setting out the goals and expectations for a new year, a new event with my college cohorts, you with your team. And it is often with the people that we're working most closely with that we're making assumptions that they understand what we mean, what we want, and what we hope to achieve, whether it's people on our team or the clients that we're serving. With that in mind, the event that we were putting on, though, the audience looked a little bit different. Not radically different, just a little bit different. Instead of it being a multi-generation audience, the entire audience was 200 high school seniors, so 17 and 18-year-old kids. I'm going to talk fast, don't listen slow. These 17 or 18-year-old kids, this was a church event. As college students, we wanted to step up and make a difference. We wanted an opportunity to pour into these kids. So we went to the elders of the church and asked, can we put on an event for the kids? They said, sure, what do you think? And we're saying, well, it's our first time, so go big or go home. We'd like to do a 3-day night overnight event for 200 high school kids. Now, somebody just said, oh, I heard that in the back of the room. They thought about it, they came back, they said yes. So as any good manager would do, we started delegating to the team. Here's what you're responsible for. And for me, one of the things I was responsible for was the opening part of the night. Now imagine the opening part of the night as parents are dropping their kids off. If you're over the age of 40, in this room, I wanted to create a mood. If you're under the age of 40, I wanted to set a vibe. I wanted them to feel some type of way about what we were doing in that room. I wanted the energy to be good, and so I had this idea that we'd play G-rated music because it was a church event. We'd play songs that everybody would know, and we'd get everybody up and dancing, not at the tables. The college leaders would lead everyone in these dances. Now, I made some assumptions that if you've been in elementary school, that if you've been to a wedding over the past 15 years, that you would know the dance moves to these songs. Now I want to see if this group knows the dance moves to these songs. Because our topic is infinite influence, and I want to make sure that we're not confusing it with something else, but I want to be sure that you never forget that assumptions are what are going to get in the way of us achieving infinite influence. I'm going to play 3 songs. 2 of them I want to see if you know the moves to. I'm not going to do them. I want you to look to your left, look to your right, look behind you, and see if the people around you know the dance moves to this first song. Listen carefully. It's going to be loud. Prepare yourself. Here we go.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
One more time. I'm looking. Okay, all right, Farm Bureau Financial Services. Let's have a conversation. I'm going to have to grade you all on that, and I would give you a solid 85, like a solid B, because I think we had probably 85% participation. However, I think 100% of you all knew the dance moves to that song, but I wonder if some of you all thought, well, this is ridiculous. I've worked in the financial industry. I figured that would happen, so I picked a second song very intentionally. This one, you can close your eyes. You don't have to raise your arms. You can just move at the elbows for this one. I just want you to listen to see if this group, let's see if we can get 100% participation, to see if this group knows these songs. Now, those kids, they were rushing the stage. They were having a good time. You all are sitting still. Listen carefully. Here comes the second song. Let's see if you know this song by the sound of your move.
Freeze! Everybody clap your hands. Come on, y'all.
Okay, fantastic. All right, 100%. Great job. Now imagine, though, imagine the night. The kids are up here. The crowd is going wild. I'm at the back of the stage. I'm watching each of my friends walk up and lead these kids in these dances. But there was a grand finale planned. I had gone to my friend Michael. Now, to know Michael is to love Michael. Maybe you know someone like Michael. To know Michael, he is someone who is incredibly kind. He'd give you the shirt off of his back. Maybe people would say the same about you. He's someone who's always happy. He's always willing to lend a hand. He's also someone who's incredibly shy. If he was in this room, he'd be at the very back of the room and counting down the seconds until this was over. I went to Michael, though, and I asked him, Michael, are you excited about this event with these kids? He says, yes, Allison, I can't wait. I hope we make a real difference over the weekend. And I said, well, great, I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad you want to make a difference because I've got a job for you. He says, I'm listening. And I said, I'm wondering if we'll do the dancing. Everyone will dance along. And I'm wondering if you would be responsible for this grand finale. I'm thinking that Michael will play the Michael Jackson, Billie Jean song. Just one short part of it, not the whole thing. And I'm thinking that nobody would expect it. I'm thinking as that song starts playing, there'll be a quiet moment across the room. The whole energy will change. And you'll start walking up. And I can imagine that all eyes are on you. And as you walk up to the stage, nobody's expecting it. But when that song hits and your feet hit the stage, you strike the pose and walk all the way across the stage. Moonwalk all the way across the stage. And my friend Michael, who's so kind, he's sitting there smiling at me and says, I think it's a great idea, but with beads of sweat forming on his forehead, he says, but I think you're going to have to find somebody else. The topic for today is influence. I influenced my friend Michael to say yes. But I didn't realize that I had made an assumption about someone I knew, someone I'd gone to school with my whole life. Maybe you're making assumptions about people you've done business with your whole life. Maybe you're making assumptions about what customers and potential customers would want today. I made an assumption. Let me play out for you how that worked out for me. Here comes the Billie Jean song. My friend Michael comes walking up from the back of the stage. The whole room turned into a Taylor Swift concert. They're recording now. He goes, he puffs his chest out, he thumbs up at me, and he's off. And I'm telling you, that shy man was confident. He was proud of what he had done from the stage. But I sat and watched from the back of the stage, a room that was once full of energy, where now the air had been sucked out of the room, the phones were pulled down, and I swear I think they were texting their parents saying, this is a really weird church, can you please come get me? I had to do damage control now. I run up, I get the microphone, I say, all right, everybody out of the room except Michael, come back up to the stage. My friend Michael comes up to the stage and I said, Michael, what was that? We had a plan. And he said, Allison, I get the feeling that you're upset. And I want you to consider again, have you ever explained a policy or explained coverages to somebody and then something just didn't connect? And then we had this breakdown. I said, Michael, I asked you to do the moonwalk across the stage. What was that? And he said, I did exactly what you told me to do, Allison. I walked up from the side. I came to the front, and I hit the pose like I put on an astronaut suit where my arms couldn't even go down. And then as if I'm on the moon, zero gravity, walking on the moon. You all are kind. You laughed. Those kids didn't laugh. And I just realized right then and there that if I go back to my formal training and what I teach audiences every week is that the person initiating the communication is always responsible for making sure it is received and decoded correctly. No more, they took that the wrong way, they misunderstood me, they weren't listening, but I'm taking responsibility in order to make sure that we get the result that we want. I realized that yes, we had a communication breakdown and I was responsible. I assumed that you knew exactly what I meant. And as sales professionals, I want you to consider right now, what assumptions have you been making about people these days? I believe there's no such thing as a self-made success. Successful people, successful organizations are built through the investment and support of a lot of people. It takes all of us in order to achieve that mutually successful outcome. But we have to be able to influence people. Infinite influence should not be confused. So let me set the record straight to make sure you and I are all walking in the same direction, headed towards a successful outcome. Influence should not be confused. Infinite influence should not be confused with number one, motivation. When it comes to human motivation, you can't, I can't, no one can motivate someone to do something they don't want to do. Because motivation is internal decision making. We cannot motivate people. I'm not a motivational speaker. I also want you to know that there are books that, while people can be so complex, people can also be figured out. And there's books on influence that have been banned from prison because they show you how to quite literally move people. However, those people who are in prison, most of them, not all of them, don't want to make any assumptions, most of them are likely not going to use that power for good. They will use it to manipulate. And when it comes to manipulation, I would encourage you to think of it this way. If you are a note taker in the room, manipulation says, I'm going to share this or say this or do this in a way where I win regardless of if you lose. I'm not after manipulation. Anything unethical, illegal, immoral, that's not what I want you to use this infinite influence strategy for. Infinite influence is only for those who want to build a future that is good for the client, that is good for you, that is good for Farm Bureau. A win-win-win outcome. Infinite influence can be built in a matter of seconds and last a lifetime. We're not talking about temporary influence where you go to a restaurant, someone's kind to you, and you love to go back and see Teresa because she calls you honey. We're not talking about service level influence. We're talking about intentional leaders who show up looking for clues on how to connect with you in a way where even when things get difficult, I'm staying. If you recommend something to me, I'm trusting you and I'm going all in with all lines of coverage. Infinite influence. It is because I learned to build infinite influence when I was just a young person that I can stand before you now humbly and tell you that I've been able to achieve every single personal and professional goal that I've had. And I came to share all the secrets with you. I'm a simple woman. This strategy is not complex. It's incredibly simple, yet profound. Significant influence, profound impact. That's the heartbeat of infinite influence. When you can build infinite influence, you have the opportunity to achieve unlimited success. Let me teach you how to do it and do it well. Master the art of creating infinite influence. There's a phrase I want you to remember, maybe never forget, and it is 6 small words, 7 syllables. See the story, serve the need. Now, like the Farm Bureau choir, I want to hear you say, see the story. Nice. And I want to hear you say, serve the need. Now, if you were to influence someone, did you know that someone needs to hear something about 7 times annually in order for it to be top of mind? Just consider that for a moment as you are trying to build relationships with people that you work with. Are you top of mind for them? And if you're not, are you interacting with them at least 7 times or just whenever their policy renews? I want you to consider, see the story, serve the need. You're going to hear me say this over and over because if you want to influence anyone, anytime, all you have to do is see the story, serve the need. Now, when I say see the story, I want you to consider that the number one skill required in order for you to be a more successful salesperson in 2025 and beyond, hands down, number one, I can put my stake in the ground and always tie back to this, is, any ideas? I hear some mumblings, but I'm almost 40. My hearing's going. Say it a little louder. Any ideas the number one skill? Listening. Close. I'm going to give you a word that starts with an E, and I want you to hear me very carefully because I'm about to challenge the way that you think about this word. The word is empathy. Now, empathy is a buzzword today. Empathy is a buzzword today, which means it's often losing its power. But if you have the ability to correctly empathize with a current client or potential client, you will be able to influence them indefinitely. I want you to consider empathy for a moment. Test yourself. When I say the word empathy, don't answer out loud, but how would you define it? Don't answer out loud. Just think for a moment. I would define empathy by... Now consider this. I used to have people raise their hand and I realized I don't want anybody feeling salty or bad, so let me just keep this to yourself, but consider. Did the word understand someone come to mind for you? What I have found is that most people, when we say empathy is important, then we think, yes, I think we should all try to understand one another. But that's not the catalyzing power of empathy in business and in sales. The catalyzing power of empathy in business today to help you build infinite influence is your ability to think like someone else. Your ability to think like someone else who doesn't have the training that you have. It's your ability to think like someone else who doesn't want the same things that you want. Your ability to think like someone else who's never been a salesperson. Or maybe your ability to think like someone else who is as salty as can be if they start feeling like they're being sold. Your ability to think like someone else who is different than you, wants things differently than you, is your catalyzing power to being able to achieve infinite influence. Hands down, the number one way for you to build correct empathy today is to get to know people's stories. You can regurgitate their past history, their spouse's name, their kids' names, their coverages, their limits, whatever, but what you need to know is that the only thing that is going to create this instant, deep connection is for you to get to know their story. And it is in everyday stories where you are going to hear clues as to why people do what they do and what you must do in order to infinitely influence them. I wonder if you've been making assumptions about people's story, though. Let me give you an example. I'm going to play this out for you, how to see the story. You should see every person you know, those you like and especially those who frustrate you, those you're currently doing business with and those you want to do business with. See them in terms of their story, because there you have information you can use to make better decisions. With that in mind, consider this. I'm going to use a teacher story because I think all of us have been in school at one point or another. Is that true? Okay, so that means that universally applicable. I'm going to use a teacher story, but listen very carefully. Forget the title. When we're talking about building infinite influence, we all have a job to do and we have a choice to build infinite influence. So I'm going to tell a story about a teacher, but it's really about someone who built infinite influence. Insert your title in there. I am a sales agent, sales associate, and I choose to build infinite influence. With that in mind, think of Miss Conger for a moment. Her name, Miss Conger, was my third grade teacher. Miss Conger was about my height on a good day, so about 5'3.5". She has curly brown voluminous hair, crystal blue eyes. She always wore the prettiest shade of pink lipstick, and her classroom smelled like red Starburst. I remember everything about Miss Conger because she built infinite influence with me. Infinite influence, something that had a profound impact on my life. And you have the ability to do the same. Now, Miss Conger had a job to do, much like you do. Miss Conger, her job was to teach, so every day, much like you, she will prepare. She'll make sure that she has the information needed. She will be intentional about how she shows up and shares that information. She was a teacher. She had a job to do. But listen to this. She could not create success on her own, much like you. You need something from other people in order to be successful. You need them to come, buy, and stay. If you agree, shake your head yes. So with that in mind, Ms. Conger needed something from her students. We were her clients. She needed students to learn, grow, and test well. We would come into her classroom in the fall. She would give us a big test, a state test. We would answer all of the questions all throughout the year. She would teach to us. I'm sure she gave her best effort. And then at the end of the year, we'd take another test. And the idea was that if our test scores were higher, she would be seen as an effective teacher. If we scored higher, if we learned, grew, and tested well, that was a winning outcome for her. She was going to be successful. If we learned, grew, and tested well, that would be a winning outcome for our school. And would I be better off as a student if I learned and grew and tested well in elementary school? Yes or no? Now think about you. If you were to sell more to people in your community who need your products and services, would they be better off? Yes or no? Would that be good for you if you could sell more? Yes or no? Would that be good for Farm Bureau Financial Services if you could sell more? Yes or no? We're after a win-win-win outcome when it comes to achieving infinite influence. But listen very carefully. Ms. Conger and I had a challenge. Because think about Miss Sweetconger giving her best every day, much like you, but I was showing up every single day, and I had zero interest in learning and growing and testing well. You might be thinking, who do we get to come up here? People do business with you for a reason. Do you know what that is? Because I was going to school, you could say I had a policy with Miss Conger. I was doing business there, but I had no loyalty to her. If things got too tough, maybe I would have stayed at home or tried to get a different teacher. I was going to school for really 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Number one, free food. I knew that if I would get my brother and my sister up out of bed, if we'd go down to the bus stop, go to school, that at least we'd have free breakfast and free lunch because we qualified for that. I was going to school for free food, and then number 2, safety. The house that I grew up in, anything outside of that house was better than what was going on inside that house. And so school was safe for me. It was an escape for me. I was there, I was present, I was on the team, I was on the books, but it was all for me, not for anyone else. Now, Miss Conger could have said, Allison is not loyal, she's a problem child, she might be a flight risk, she might have spent 0 time investing in me, because what could I have given her back? But Miss Conger was not just a teacher, she was someone on a sold-out mission to build infinite influence. You see, when you start building infinite influence, it becomes a way of life. It drives everything that you do. Because Miss Conger knew that if she could connect with me, if she could get my attention, then maybe she could change the future for all of us. You have the power to build significant influence and profound impact in a way that is good for you, good for your clients, good for this company. I want you to consider this. Miss Conger every day, in order to see the story, she'd use an everyday scenario. You all are already hearing everyday stories, but my question is, are you intentionally listening for clues? Clues as to what it is that's most important for them. Is it price? Is it service? Is it convenience? Is it relationship? Maybe what used to be important last year is no longer important because things have changed. Are you listening for the clues? Intentional leaders know that when we come to work, we don't sleep. We wake up with this mindset that we will achieve infinite influence, but that means we have to be living wide awake to the clues in front of us, listening to those stories. Miss Conger knew that, and this is the one of the top 3 times I would say you speak first. Miss Conger would ask a simple question. If I could pick an everyday example, I would use this. What did you have for dinner last night? Think about your client interactions. Are you talking about what you do this weekend? Who'd you hang out with? How's your family? How's your kids? It's in those everyday conversations that there are clues to help you build infinite influence with someone you don't know, who doesn't think like you, doesn't want the same things as you, and yet would be better off if you could just connect with them. Miss Conger, she would go first. She would say to the whole class, 10 seconds or less, 10 seconds or less. I'm going to share my story first. So my story is, Miss Conger would say something like, I made Kentucky Fried Chicken last night, green beans and mashed potatoes. Some sweet tea as well. A good Southern meal. Now in Kentucky, we can make Kentucky Fried Chicken. If you're not from Kentucky, I'll share the recipe with you after the break. But consider this. It was as simple as that. And she would say, all right, now all throughout the day, I want you to come to my desk. I want to hear your story. Because she was looking for clues. Intentional leaders are looking for clues. They know how important those one-off interactions are for us to gather the information we need in order to serve and sell better. First kid would go up to Miss Conger's class. Listen carefully because you're about to learn that you already know how to do this. We're just bringing it top of mind, helping you be radically intentional. Because the first kid would go up to Miss Conger's desk, and imagine her name is little Angelica. Maybe you have a client like Angelica. If people see Angelica coming, you can see people around the office start looking at each other like, oh no, here she comes, a thunderstorm. What are they going to want? What are they going to need? Little Angelica comes up to Miss Conger's desk and she says, Miss Conger, last night my mom made salmon and asparagus, and my daddy made us drink water. It was disgusting. Miss Conger would sympathize, not empathize. She'd curl up her nose and say, well, I bet that just felt awful, didn't it, little Angelica? And then Miss Conger would grab off of her desk a few Starbursts, hand little Angelica a little sugar and red dye 40. She'd be as happy as she could be going back to her desk, sitting down. Now listen very carefully. She'd pause for a moment. The infinite influence strategy is incredibly simple, immediately actionable, and all it takes is a moment. Because Miss Conger would pause for a moment and consider the clues that she heard in that everyday story. My question is, have you been listening? How intentional have you been to gather the right information? Because for little Angelica, she might have learned if she listened long enough that little Angelica was the only child to Gen X parents, that they tried for decades in order to have little Angelica. And when she finally came along, she was the only child and the only grandchild. So all the aunts, uncles, and grandparents and parents, their life quite literally revolved around little Angelica. So when she felt like when she shows up to our office and everybody needs to bow at her feet, give her what she wants and the best service, they could have been salty about it, or in order to make sure she still wants to come and stay and go all in here, they give her exactly what she needs. She needs more attention. She needs more information. Not because she's a problem, but because she's a human with a story. And aren't we all? Are you listening for the clues? Little Johnny would come up to Miss Conger's desk and he'd say, Miss Conger, it was my week at my dad's house. My brother had a baseball game. My little sister and I had hot dogs, and we got to play on the dirt mound. It was a great night. Now let me ask you this. What clues did you just hear? Say it loud. Separated parents. There's a clue as to something going on. Can you all see even now how these clues help you know what to sell, what to offer, what to research, what for someone, to give them a tailored suite of products for what they need? Are you listening for the clues? Yes, the parents. There's something going on at home that we now need to adjust our approach. Maybe for that person, we need to give them a break. Maybe they need space to talk a little bit more, so this meeting is going to be longer than we were expecting. Are you listening for the clues? What else did you hear about little Johnny? He had siblings, might be collaborative, might be lots of people he loves and has to take care of. Intentional leaders who are after infinite influence, unlimited success, are listening for the clues. I'd go up to Miss Conger's desk. I was ignorant as could be at 7 years old. I'd go up to her desk and say, Miss Conger, I didn't have dinner last night and my dad never made me come inside. It was a great night. And she'd look at me like some of you all are now looking, big-eyed, like. And then she would open up her drawer, she'd grab some food that she spent her own time and money to get, and she'd hand it off to me, and I'd go on about my way. Now listen very carefully. She had good intentions. If you can see that, shake your head yes. She was giving her best, already going above and beyond. If you can see that, shake your head yes. But consider this. You can go above and beyond and have the best intentions with people in today's world, and it make no difference in their buying decision. Because I'd go back to my desk, and I was thankful for what she did, but I still didn't pay any more attention to what she was trying to do. I didn't care any more about her because she had done that. I was grateful, but it changed nothing about my decision towards her. Infinite influence is about connecting with people so deeply that they will do whatever it takes in order to make sure that you are successful too. Consider this. Miss Conger comes up to me. Because she had gotten to know my story, she learned over time, this little girl doesn't have a mom, or she's not around, nobody's paying attention, so now I have an idea. Some of your best ideas will come from clues that your clients give you and potential clients give you when they're sitting right across from you, when they're sending you a text message, when they type something on social media. But are you intentionally looking for those clues that should inform your service and your sales? Because Miss Conger came up to me. She was listening. She was intentional. She came up to me and she whispered in my ear. She asked, Allison, do you want to stay after school tomorrow and I'll fix your hair for picture day? Now, I want you to listen very carefully, sales professionals. Anywhere in her job description did it say to fix a client's hair? Yes or no? No, not at all. Some people may think, well, that's ridiculous. I would never. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I want you to consider this. She would have never had the idea to serve me that way, to sell to me that way, had she not gotten to know my story. That brilliant idea would have never come to her mind. But because she stopped what she was doing intentionally, in just a matter of moments, got to know my story, she had an idea. When she asked me, Allison, can I fix your hair for a picture day? My mind started going like a Rolodex. Brrr. Some of you were like, what's a Rolodex? Ask a ChatGPT later. My mind is running, and honestly, if I'm just candid with you, my mind thought, Ms. Conger's beautiful, everybody loves her. If I could have a yearbook picture that was beautiful, maybe everybody would love me too. And so my answer to her was a very quick yes. I go home, I get up the next day. If there was ever a day I was in class watching the clock, you better believe it was that day. I couldn't wait until 2:45 because that's when Ms. Conger would walk all these kids out of this classroom. And ultimately, me and Ms. Conger had work to do. I needed those kids to leave, and when they finally did, Ms. Conger shut that big wooden public school door closed. For those of you who've been in those old school schools, you know that sound. Click. It's heavy. Ms. Conger comes over to me. Listen very carefully. Think about how you serve current and prospective clients. How intentional have you been? Because Ms. Conger took me by the hand, and we walked over and sat down behind her desk. Now, that desk chair, I remember it clear as day. Blue, metal. Maybe you had the same ones, the kind that were freezing whenever you sat down and you wore shorts to school. I'm sitting in that chair, and I remember Ms. Conger did something that I don't see many people do today. I wonder if you do this. Ms. Conger knew the power of intentional connection, of making sure the person that's 10 toes down in front of you knows they're the most important person in the room to you. Ms. Conger didn't multitask. When I came and sat in her office, per se, she didn't say, let me just finish this email real quick. She didn't keep her phone out on the desk in case someone else more important called. She didn't make sure she had the latest Apple Watch in case she needed to know if she needed to stand up or not. Ms. Conger was more intentional than that. I wonder what people would say about you. I wonder if you do this. I often see this. You know what? Walk with me, talk with me. We're at a social event. Come over here. We're walking, we're talking, sending this unintentional message of, I see that you're here, but you need to know where I've got to go, who I want to talk to is more important than you. Unintentional leaders are creating disconnect in the relationships with their clients and potential clients every single day and don't even realize it. We have options today, and if you're not making people feel like they matter to you, then it is more acceptable than ever for them to go somewhere else where they feel like they do matter. How intentional have you been? Sitting behind that desk, Ms. Conger sitting there, I remember her friend Stacy opened the door Ms. Conger had shut. And Ms. Stacy calls Ms. Conger by her first name, meaning they were friends. Of course, Ms. Conger wanted to talk to Stacy more than she wanted to talk to me. Stacy said, Christy. And Ms. Conger never broke eye contact with me and said, not right now, Stacy. I'm with Allison. Think about the interactions you're having with people. Are you intentional? Or would they say, you're a multitasker, you're a fast mover, you're distracted. They don't care about me, someone or something else just walked in. Ms. Conger pulled out this clear zippered pouch of sponge rollers. Maybe you remember those. Your mama, your grandmama used them. She rolled my hair up. And if you're thinking, I don't even have much hair on my head, Allison, what's this have to do with sales? You may not get this from a hair perspective, but you'll get this from a heart perspective. Listen very carefully. Ms. Conger fixed my hair, sent me home. The next morning I'm up. I'm the first one out of bed. You can probably tell by now I'm a little bit dramatic. I get up in bed. I don't move. I'm sitting on the bed. I pull these rollers out of my hair, and when I can feel there's no more rollers in my hair, I take off running to the bathroom. I'm wanting a big reveal when I hit that mirror. When I go down the hallway, flip on the light switch, my eyes hit that glass, and immediately that bathroom turned into an Herbal Essences shampoo commercial. I'm looking in there, my hair's curly. I'm going, yes, yes, yes. I'm thinking, this voluminous hair, I'm going to have the picture that will change my life. Because remember yearbooks back in the day, your teacher would give them to you. She'd create time in class for you to make sure you got everyone's signature. You'd have just a few moments to mark out the people that didn't matter. Draw a heart around those that did. And then your best friends got to sign on the crack. I thought the yearbook picture was going to change my life, but little did I know. Little did I know. I start looking through my mirror or through the cabinets. I'm thinking, how do I get these curls to stay? And all I knew is my dad was rocking a haircut in 1996 made famous by a country singer. Who was it? Cyrus. And what was the haircut Billy Ray Cyrus made famous? The mullet. Someone in a group last week in San Diego said, the Kentucky waterfall? I'd never heard that before, but okay. The mullet. And how would you describe the mullet? Business in the front, party on the back. I'm learning clues about you all right now, what kind of people you all are. My dad's mullet, though, was not necessarily business in the front, party in the back. It was more like party all over because he had the Justin Timberlake, Marshall Mathers, frosted tips, and all that short hair. He spiked it straight up. And I just remember thinking, that's not natural. So if he can get his hair to stay like that, there must be something I can use to get my hair to stay. I go searching. I find in the cabinet a can of Firm, Hold, Mousse. And I'm thinking, yes, I grab that mousse, I squirt it in my hand. If you've never used mousse before, it should puff up like shaving cream or whipped cream. I didn't know what I was doing, how to shake it, how to hold it, so I just puddled in my hands like milk. And I took this wet liquid, and I put it on my dry hair, and I worked it in, root to tip. And when I went back to that mirror, very much expecting and hoping for va-va-voom, when my eyes hit, I was shocked. Because what I saw in that glass looking back at me looked like a drowned rat. My hair was now matted to my head. It was flat as could be, and immediately all I could think was not that my life is just going to be the same now. Instead, it was, Miss Conger's going to kill me. She spent her time, her money on me, and I messed it all up, but I had to go to school. Why did I have to go to school? Say it louder. Now pause for a moment. We've done a lot over the past 50 minutes together. I was going to school for 2 reasons, free food and safety. Consider why you remember that, those details. I know why you remember them. Because they were wrapped in a story. I want you to consider this for a moment. I'm going to ask you an uncomfortable question. You only know part of my story right now. But I wonder if when I came on this stage and I'm, hi, how are y'all? The red dress, the short blonde hair, we're moonwalking across it. I wonder what you thought about me. Let me ask an uncomfortable question. Blink twice if the answer is yes. I'm going to do a quick scan of the audience. Blink twice if you see me differently now that you know my story. Somebody's about to have a stroke over there. I just want you to consider for a moment that there's an endless amount of stories we need to be listening and looking for from the people we interact with every day. And sometimes there's a story we need to tell to make people believe us, to give us some credibility, to make us stand out in a crowded market and remember who we are. My question is, are you willing to tell that story? Are you willing to take the time to find the right place? Are you willing to be vulnerable and open? Because it might just be the thing that gets everybody's attention. Can you feel that in the room even now? With that in mind, I had to go to school. I get to school and immediately Miss Conger meets me in the hallway. Now, when Miss Conger and I meet in the hallway, she's a few doors down. She immediately, in true Miss Conger fashion, throws open her arms and comes running, hollering down that hallway, "Allison, you look so beautiful." And she wrapped me up in a hug. The Miss Conger lied, and leaders should not lie. With that amount, sales professionals should not lie. So we'll set that aside. We'll talk about that in another session. But consider for a moment the power of this strategy, of seeing someone in terms of their story. It is when you get to know someone's story that you uncover what is called the paramount need. I told you all, I'm going to school for free food and safety, but what I didn't know, what Ms. Conger was able to uncover, what you as intentional sales professionals should be able and working to uncover every single day is not what is a need. I had a need to learn, a need to grow, a need to eat, a need to be safe, but what was at the very top, the pinnacle for me, my paramount need was to know that I mattered to somebody. And it was when that need was met that instantly everything changed. You can see I have chills even now. I'm standing in that hug in that hallway. This was over 25 years ago. And I learned the profound simplicity and power of building infinite influence, of seeing someone in terms of their story and serving their paramount need. Because in that hug, the very first thought I had was, I wonder if this is love. Because in my little mind, based on my story, I had already made it up in my mind. I didn't want a family when I grow up. I don't want to get married. I don't want kids. But because someone like you chose to go to work and not just do your job, not just check the boxes, not keep doing things the way they've always done it or the conventional way to move forward, but rather they were so intentional to get to know my story, uncover a unique way to serve and to sell to me, that I'm now standing in front of you all as a wife and mother to 4 feral kids who are out running in Western Kentucky right now. I want you to consider, if you've ever been frustrated with someone, if you've ever worked your tail off in order to make a sale and it didn't happen, if you've been hoping to hold on to someone and they still left, I want you to consider maybe you've been making some assumptions about what's important to them. Maybe you've been serving a need but not the paramount need. And maybe it's time for you to level up. Infinite influence requires you to see people in terms of their story, because that's where you uncover their paramount need. Listen very carefully. When you uncover and serve someone's paramount need, I'm going to tell you the second thought that happened in that hug. I'm in that hug. The first thought I had was, is this love? And my eyes were now opened to having a family. Miss Conger now, if we have the whole full circle moment, Miss Conger now is my youngest 4-year-old daughter's preschool teacher. I've asked her, do I have your permission to go talk good about you behind your back to people all across the world? And she has said yes. And what I think is most interesting about what she has said, maybe you can relate to this. She said, Allison, the work was often difficult. The hours were often long. I often wondered if this would ever work, if the work was worth it. But I'm telling you right now, knowing that I made that kind of difference in your life means every bit of the stress and the effort and investment was worth it. Infinite influence is not just something you do for other people. I believe that we all have a purpose to build infinite influence. I think our purpose lies less in the technical activities of what we do every day and more in the people that we get to do this life with. Are you looking for the clues? I'm in that hug with Miss Conger. And she says, or the next thought that I had was, the final thought that I had was, listen, business professionals, the final thought that I had was, you know what? If she cares about me, I'm going to go all in with her. I'll start paying attention to what she says in class. If she asks me to help around the classroom, you better believe I'll be there. If she says it's a good idea for me to get in gifted and talented, watch me do my homework. And I want you to consider what she was asking me to do. Would you offer your clients? I trusted her. I believed her. I will do, even to this day, anything for her. Not because we spent a ton of time together, but because in one simple action, she got to know my story, she served my paramount need, and now I'm on a sold-out mission and would do anything for her. I trust her, I believe in her. She has infinite influence with me, and I'm better off because of her. There are people out there who need to be connected with you. They need products and services that you offer. My question is, how intentional are you willing to be? How real, how raw, how vulnerable are you willing to be moving forward? I would say it's not an option anymore. It's a fundamental requirement, and I'll leave you with this. See the story, serve the need. Let's do this one more time. We know we need to hear it and see it about 7 times. Let's do it one more time. See the story, serve the need. Let's do it even one more time. See the story, serve the need. Let me ask you this question. Would your business be better off? Would your community and your clients be better off if everyone was on a sold-out mission to do whatever it took to create a better future for you, for them, and for Farm Bureau Financial Services? Yes or no? Yes. Tell me one more time. Yes or no? Absolutely. So where it says serve the need on your screen right now, I want you to consider this phrase. When I have to wake up in the morning, when I get to wake up in the morning, and sometimes I'm tired, and sometimes I don't feel like it, sometimes things are harder than they have to be, I know that I can't always control my circumstances. I know that I might not be the most talented person in the room, have the best prices or products, etc. But what I know is that I can't always control everything else, but I can control my next right step. And so I'll give you this phrase that I have to say to myself every day, whether it's doing something difficult at work, maybe it's something simple but I need to be more consistent on, maybe this phrase will help you in the same way that it helps me. Allison, you can roll your eyes or roll up your sleeves. Only one of those choices is going to get you better results. Building infinite influence is not rocket science. It means tomorrow, tonight, as people are sharing information and everyday stories with you, you are living and influencing wide awake. You are looking for those clues as to who they are, what they want, what's most important to them that maybe they don't even realize, and then you're adapting your approach accordingly. When you intentionally build infinite influence, you don't lose. And I want that to be your story. Farm Bureau Financial Services, my name is Allison Van Hooser. It's been a pleasure to serve you. I'm wishing you huge success. Thank you.